No swirls.
Yeah, so that's usually what you see with tempered glass, and in this case, the actual side is popping down. Is this a lock-up top there?
Yes, it's a lock-up top, so we actually have a key so you can lock it up so people can really steal your components, and also to secure the tempered glass.
Sure. Well, it looks super nice, and it's part of the larger Maker series. Actually, what is the full Cooler Master like ethos about Maker? It's designed. Cooler Master has changed since if people remember them from back in the days of the Stormtrooper, the giant cases that looked like they were straight out of Star Wars. It's definitely a lot more, I don't know, Boeing, Starfighter chic these days. What's kind of like the evolution of Cooler Master since the previous generation?
Yeah, so we introduced the MasterCase series, right? So first we had the MasterCase 5, and then we had a Pro 5 and a Maker 5. So the idea behind this is the Maker concept where a lot of things are modular. So you can take things apart and then put it into another case. And so maybe Wei can tell a little bit more about that, because the next evolution here is the 5T, and it's all follows the same concept, has the same body, but you can still switch things around and make it look a little bit different based on the same initial concept.
Yes, so the idea behind the new idea that I wanted to do is called the freeform modular system. What it allows you to is you can customize the exterior, adjust the internal part, and upgrade in the future if you need it. Because a lot of the cases in the past that we make, you can't really upgrade it when there's a new updates in the future, like USB 3.1 Type-C, the VR, all those stuff that you want to add into your cases, you have to buy brand new cases. But with freeform modular system, it actually allows you to upgrade your spec of your case, or even change to tempered glass, or change the exterior of your case. So that's what we want to do with the MasterCase series. So it's actually you utilize the same frame. So we want to use the same frame to allow you to customize and adjust and upgrade in the future.
That's super cool. And for those of us that are just joining us now, we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. I am Josh from Newegg and Unlocked, and talking about new Cooler Master products and kicking off the Cooler Master World Tour. Why don't we actually, Dwayne, if you want to actually talk about what modding's meant to you, but also an introduction about this mod tour and kind of what's happening.
Yeah, so I've been with the modding community, it seems like forever. Probably when most of the people that are even alive, it seems like that are modding now. It's been around, we started actually our website in 2006, and I was modding before that. So to me, it was a natural progression, because I was going from the hot rod era, and I had a family, starting young family and stuff, so it got too expensive to stay in the cars. Yeah. So getting into the cases and the computers was great. And I'm like, this is awesome. I can still get my creativity out and the fun that I want and be able to do this. And it's progressed so much. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And that's actually a good point about the price of this hobby. It's one of those things where, if you're into cars, like being into cars, like that's an expensive hobby. Actually modding cars, and you see that, there's SEMA, there's big conventions for that. But case modding, you can get a roll of, vinyl like that PC back there that I did, the white carbon fiber. You can completely case mod, you can just change the color, you can change the texture. What I actually like about this case, and I'd actually be interested in your thoughts on sort of tips for modding this, would you actually maybe wrap this in vinyl, spray it, or completely just go crazy with foam in a completely new structure? What do you look at when you see, a new case?
All of the above. Yeah. Yeah. So like you're saying with pricing though, is like what we do, what we try every year is to have it's a staff versus staff contest. And the maximum that we can spend is $250 to make a whole case. So we try and make sure that we show that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to enjoy it and have fun in this hobby. And for this one, it's as a this right now is just a beautiful case. I mean, if you really look at it and you get deeper into it, the colors are right. Yeah. It's the inside. It's nice and smooth on the inside where you've got all the panels. I mean, they really thought into it. Cooler Master has always been able to do that, progress, always been able to make it better and better. This one is, I've seen it in Computex where you had the different color panels on the front. So you could do it like a red on the front and a yellow. And it's really nice to be able to have the modular aspect of that.
Sure.
You could actually do quite a few things. You could leave it as it is and just add some lighting, some accent lighting that would really kick it off. So maybe some on the bottom or some a little bit behind the tempered glass that would really kind of glow out. Or you can go all out. Like you said, with the vinyl wrap is becoming popular again. I tell you, I've been around so long that I've seen things come and go many times, and the vinyl wrap is coming back. I'm actually doing another case mod using some vinyl wrap because it's kind of easy and quick to use.
Yeah, I think that's one of the easiest that you can jump in, heat gun it a little bit. This was my first time actually wrapping a case when I did that one, and it probably took 4 or 5 hours. And
Yeah.
thank God for Photoshop, because when I finally did the final pictures, I had to take away all the little smudges and all that sort of stuff. But if you guys could actually speak to Cooler Master and modding. Obviously, Maker is the whole theme of your entire line, as well as Master, obviously. But like, you guys are so big in the modding community and so big in changing everything out. You know, what has it been, the progression of Cooler Master, like, to mod and then support the community?
Yeah, so as far as I know, we started our first competition back in 2003. And before that, it was just a lot of people just wanted to do something different with their case. So I've heard stories where people would come and just kind of see if there was anything they could do, and we would have RMA cases that they could just take home, and then they could start working on it. And as this progressed, we kind of saw a lot of people being even more and more passionate about it and wanted to get to know how they can do this a little bit more. And as you know, the very important part of how we communicate with the customers, we got into it a little bit more by introducing a contest. And after that, it just kind of evolved. It got bigger and bigger every year. And this year we got the biggest turnout so far. We had 170 entries from 45 different countries. So if you imagine, right, every mod takes about 3 or 4 months to work on. The amount of work, the amount of hours everyone puts in, just because they like it, the passion they have for working on this kind of stuff is insane. And we appreciate all the work that you put into it, and we want to showcase that.
For sure. Where are we at in the progress of the 2017 mod competition? You've already received entries from the public, and now we're waiting for them to build it, or where are we at?
Yeah, so basically the registration ended a few days ago. The requirements is to start a work log on the forum, so we can see people already working on it. So we have 170 qualified entries, and yeah, we have a couple months to see if, you know, there's any amazing, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of amazing stuff that's gonna come out by around May time, which is about a month away from now.
Sweet. And so these modders, they don't actually get any money from Cooler Master up front, right? You're not giving them a budget of like $500, or how does that work? It's all just out of their own pocket?
Yeah, so one of the things that we wanted to make sure was, this is about bringing everyone together. We didn't want to do any favors, so we definitely, we ask everyone to use whatever products they want, as long as something is Cooler Master in there for most of the projects, and then just build whatever they want, and we don't favor anyone. So that's why we brought in people like the Modders Inc. to come in and kind of like be a little bit more fair about the whole situation.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of? Is it mostly though people that end up modding with Cooler Master cases, or is it like they've got a Cooler Master, mechanical keyboard in the background, and that's enough to make it, a Cooler Master mod?
We've had guys that ask, is it okay just to put a fan in? Yeah, we're like, it's cool, as long as your whole project is a working PC,
Yeah.
and then it showcases your creativity, things that you can do with whatever you have on hand. It's cool enough.
So what are the actual prizes this year that for the winners?
This year we've got the first prize would be 5,000 cash. And then, but we got a lot of different product sponsors. We got Intel, we got NVIDIA, we got Seagate, HyperX. What else do we have? Bits Power, Cooler Master, of course. So we have a lot of people involved. Oh, Dremel, of course. They're in
Dremel,
there every year.
that's a different one that you don't normally see. That's not a typical PC.
Yeah.
PC stuff. Is there a trend that you're seeing? We talked about vinyl. Anything else that you're seeing in sort of overall trends that are changing? The big trend that I've seen, it's like I mentioned, the Stormtrooper case, but man, you think back, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have thought today we'd be tempered glass cases, these crazy cases that are being made now, just like straight off the shelf. It's a whole different style and look than what's previously happened. But have you seen that also in the mod community, the style that they're going with? Is it a lot more hard pipe, different kinds of liquid cooling?
Yeah, I think what happens is, since I've been in it for quite a long time, is that we are the guys that do the prototype. We are the guys that really came up with the first modular power supplies. We're the guys that cut the windows in. We're the guys who added the LEDs. We're the ones who did a lot of the crazy stuff. And I can see that somebody out there is going to create the next big trend. Because I mean, water cooling was popular way back. I mean, I have a case from 2006, 2005, and I have water cooling parts in there. But as of within the last few years, where it's become really available, that you can go out and buy off the shelf, you know, hard tubing and all the fittings and stuff, it's becoming more of a trend. So somebody else out there will make the next progression. Everybody will go towards that.
Yeah. When did hard pipe really start?
It was a while back. I mean, you had some guys that were using it, but it wasn't nothing really popular.
So there wasn't a moment where it was just like this one guy pulled some just off the shelf and boom, that was the next.
That's where it out. I mean, most of the time you could be out walking around and you could be looking at something like at Home Depot, I'll say.
Yeah.
You know, I get a lot of product actually from there for a lot of the case mods because you can get the metals and pieces.
Yep.
You walk around and sometimes I just find something on the shelf and I grab it and figure out what can I do with this. And it might have been somebody who is outside of the PC world and might have had a friend like, hey, you know, we use this stuff when we put in refrigeration units or we put in, you know, some kind of water cooling into something or plumbing. And like, you should try this.
Yeah.
Boom, there goes the new trend. And then once that trend starts, you get people in there to manufacture all the parts and it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, like one of the things, I like building my own PC test benches, but they're like mid-century modern, so they got hairpin legs. I'm always looking at sort of like furniture design trends for inspiration for my own little test bench builds that I do. But one of the trends that we were talking actually before we started streaming was wood. I think wood, personally, I think that's going to be the next big trend. You guys showed at CES front panels, and I think was it on this case or part of the Maker series, the front panels are completely, they're either hydro dipped or vacuum molded, or how are they done?
It was a wrap.
Is it full wrap?
Yeah, so full wrap, and it's actually one of the Maker cases. The front panel is actually wrap. We also demoed at CES this year as well. So we do have those wrapping that we're working on. So, but currently no ETA. So we actually work on those.
Actually, may eventually be a for sale product.
Yes.
So yeah, wood. I think that seems like an interesting trend, but also like colors. It feels like everything is being more high end now than it was in the past. But for you, you've been doing a lot of really crazy builds. Actually, I kind of want to pull some of those up and look at some of the stuff that you've done. What has been a previous, let's take a look actually at your Cooler Master one. What was the story behind the one that you did?
The backpack?
The backpack, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at the backpack here. It's what case is this first of all?
That was the ammo. So
the
this
ammo
was
case?
probably back in 2008, maybe?
Yeah.
That I did, yeah. And it was, I had actually done a similar type of case for CPU Magazine. And Lulu had come up, Lulu that used to be working for Cooler Master, said, we want a case, we want that case. I said, I will not make that case, I will make you one similar. So I actually modernized it. The one I did before was actually from Quake Wars, Territorial Wars, and I kind of based it off of that. And then this one is what I did is I based it off of a more modern style military one. And it actually has an Alice pack on the back of it. So you could actually strap it on and walk around with it. I actually walked in with it through QuakeCon and stuff.
So sweet, yeah. So we're taking a look at it right now. So scroll through some of these pictures.
Part of the thing is what I like to do is you don't have to go overboard, but if you get the right features in there to really sell the product and your idea, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
So
how many hours did this thing take?
So I basically made the whole side panel, redid that for the doors, and then the controls.
I'm going backwards through time here. So starting with the finished product and going.
I probably didn't put them right in order for number wise, but that one right there. So I made the aluminum doors. I cut out the side panel to make it so you could see into it, and then I fabricated some aluminum doors to close it. Yeah. And it's supposed to be, like I said, a radio pack, and then as you can see there, it's got the ammo camouflage. It's got the dials and stuff on the front. It was from the old, way back when. Lulu had to try and find some pieces. They had to go through the old scrap yards to find some stuff and wanted some dials that they had. But the whole idea was that it was going to be like that you could put it on and walk into a place and like you want to take it to a LAN party. It was just something different. Nobody else had done that before. And made it different.
And now we see VR backpacks.
Now you see VR backpacks and stuff like that happening.
In circles.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So that was way ahead of the time, like 11 years ahead of the time almost.
That's a potential Cooler Master product. You guys could sell just like backpack straps to just like strap one of these guys on your back.
Yeah.
Is that coming? No.
Yeah, we're talking behind the scenes about that one. No.
Yeah, RGB straps.
There you go.
Actually, let's go back and take another look at another one. This is a Doom mod. This thing is pretty funky.
Yeah, this one I actually just recently did. It was for Bethesda and it was for the release of the new Doom.
Yeah.
So worked with them, and they had a different direction they wanted to go, but I wanted to go with the actual doors.
Yeah.
So the whole idea with this is I actually stole a couple of ideas from cosplay people. So they use that Warbler.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that hard thermoplastic.
Sure.
So as you can see in probably some of these pictures coming up, is that I used a poster board and some plastic pieces to make the base of it, and then I put the Warbler over the top of it to give it the strength because it was going to be traveling.
Yeah.
Because that's the other aspect. Like for me, when I build these for companies, I have to think about this thing could be going 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles, or it could be traveling for a whole year. I got to make it last. So I just can't put a bunch of crazy stuff on there.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. So that's what it was based off
The
of.
inspiration of the doors from the game. Yeah, that game was pretty legit. It was a fun experience.
It was. And actually went through Amazon. Amazon grabbed it, and they actually gave it away. So it was a fun project on that one.
Yeah, sweet. So that one was exhibited or was commissioned by Bethesda for the Doom launch.
Yes.
Then they showed it off at different places, or where do these pieces end up? That was something that I always wondered. Was like, where do these things go? Who gets these things?
Great question. All right, so I had made, and it's probably in there too. I made it was the Z box. It was around. It was the spear. So I made it into a small miniature Death Star, and they showed it off at I think it was at CES and Computex.
Yeah, we'll show the full. I'll pull this up and show the full.
And I don't know where it's at now.
You don't know.
I sent it back to them because they said that
This is a little mini PC.
they wanted to use it for. Yeah, it's only maybe a little bit bigger than like a good sized grapefruit almost.
Yeah.
So it was making it into a small Death Star. It was really kind of easy on this part of it. The hardest part was actually trying to get the lines, as you'll see coming up, grabbing the power from the inside for the lighting. That's the inside, and what I painted, the inside was actually silver, so that way it would reflect the lighting more.
And we're
And
trying
then
to see what it actually
trying to
is
get the
becoming.
light, get the grooves in there,
Yep.
and to get that all matched up. It was harder than I thought on a round circle to get a flat line.
Sure.
Oh, that was tough.
Yeah.
But then I had to drill, I don't know, maybe a few hundred holes in there, and then got that going with the lights on the inside, give it the different colors, and I put different colored plastic on the inside. So you have some that lights are red, some are green, some are blue, and it kind of came out, I think, pretty dang good, if I would say so myself.
Yeah, that looks great. I'm gonna have to talk to the guys at Zotac, see if I can track this sucker down.
I've kind of asked a couple times, and they're like, "You didn't got it?" Like, no.
Yeah, like, I don't know what it
Send
is.
it back to you.
Yeah, but another funny story is Bill, who's another modder. He had made one for AMD, and they called him up like 5 years later, and like, "Where's that mod at that you did?" He said, "I don't know. You guys bought it. Where's it at? You guys have it." Like, "Oh, we thought you had it." So they go all over the place. I think the one I did a radio pack in for a while was, I think it was in your lobby or somewhere, and Lulu said it was somewhere, and I think somebody got it. Maybe somebody takes it, but it's fun to be able to make them and let them go. Most of the ones that I do, I don't even very rarely get to keep.
Yeah.
I make them for somebody else, and it's.
And they always need it for a deadline for a show. You got to ship them out last minute.
Oh, there was one. It was literally in the box, had the tag on it, and it was going out the door in about 6 hours. And I call up, "Can you paint this logo on it?"
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like, yeah. Like,
No problem.
No. Have you ever seen one that's just arrived, or maybe you guys have seen it, where it's it arrives at a show and it's just demolished?
Oh.
Or they didn't attach the graphics card the right way. I've seen horror stories
That
on Reddit
happens.
where it's like the
That
graphics
happens.
card,
The
detaches.
CS one, right?
Yeah.
This CS we had a mod from Thailand, right?
Yeah.
And then it was actually leaking the water cooler, so we
Yeah.
had to rescue. And luckily the model was there doing CS, so he actually helped us salvage it. So that
Yeah.
saved the day.
Yeah.
So we got there, we were packing up, and then we had to call him because he just landed as well. So we called him, we're like, "Hey, can you come over right away? There's something wrong with the system." And he came here, he's like, "Oh my God, it's all apart." And he had to spend a few hours fixing everything before
Yeah.
the show. Yeah, happens a lot.
It happens. There's a guy here at the office who likes to go to shows, and he's just super deadpan. He's like, is this supposed to be wet over here? And then like just see people just freak out. You're like,
It
did that
is.
to me, and I was not happy. But do you guys have like a ton of mods sitting around the office? Everyone thinks they're like, oh, Newegg, we got a ton of like cool PCs, and the truth is, yes, we do. We have a lot of cool PCs, at least in the studio here. A lot of it's offices. But what about you guys?
I mean, for the U.S. branch office, we do have a lot of mods sitting there, and just been sitting there, like what Dwayne says. Like, it's just been sitting there after the show. We just left it there and then just been collecting dust. And by the time we realize it's sitting there, when we open up, sometimes it's already kind of deteriorated and broke into pieces because we don't really look at it.
What?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just
you
kidding.
get some tears going on here.
No, actually, we put them aside and then sometimes we actually reuse them. So,
Yeah.
so
No, that makes
or
sense.
give away. So.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you guys are pretty close. Why don't you just leave some over here and put them in the background for set dressing. In any case, so for the people that are just joining us right now, we are live at Newegg Studios with the guys from Cooler Master and Modders Inc. They're kicking off the Cooler Master Case Mod World Tour 2017, which is a huge event. And we're also looking at a lot of the new Cooler Master product that is here. So actually, I'd love to get a walk around, some hands-on. If you can just give the community a demo on this case, some of the features. Either of you want to jump in here and just,
Sure.
We're also taking questions from the audience. If you got questions, let's shout them out. There is actually one question. You're mentioning USB-C earlier. What is, are you supporting that now? Is it going to be in cases? Can people upgrade?
Yes, so by June, we will launch the new I/O panel. So it will be upgraded into USB 3.1 Type-C. This case will be by June. And then we will have the I/O panel available so people can actually buy and upgrade on their own. So that's why the customization comes in. So the I/O panel is easy to take out. It's only 2 screws in the back. You can take it out and swap it yourself. So that way, if you have the older cases, you can swap it easily.
So any of the MasterCase ones you can swap in and out? Or, or the Maker series, or is it?
Only the Maker series for now, because the other ones, the price point is a little bit different. So we won't assume that, we'll assume that they probably not need it, but we will have it available as well that they can swap in and out.
Sweet. So yeah, let's, this one, tempered glass, man.
Yeah, so tempered glass, as you can see that we have the lock mechanism you mentioned earlier. So we have the hinge, so just in case you pull it open, it doesn't drop. So you guys can see that it doesn't drop. So it's not gonna drop.
I'm nervous. Yeah.
So obviously, like what Dwayne mentioned earlier, like the two-tone color. So you guys can see that the interior is all painted in red, and we did include an LED strip, so you can actually move it any way you want. So that way, in case you put it in the wrong spot, the adhesive tape doesn't, you can actually reuse it and put it anywhere you want. And also, we do include a VGA holder in here, so that we can install the VGA graphic card, so that way it doesn't fall on you. The graphic card tends to, tilt it, and then in times when you ship it out or like even modding, the graphic cards tend to bend. And then the front, same thing as our MasterCase Maker series. You can open up, pop up in the front. We do have insulation panel in the front, so it actually serves as a purpose for silent solution. At the same time, if you want extra airflow, you can open up a little bit. So it has tempered glass on both sides, and we do include fan controller in here. You guys can't really see it clearly, but we do have fan controller included, and also LED controller as well. So that's pretty much it for the MasterCase Maker 5T. So.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. Does it come in different colors, or is it always red on the inside?
Well, it's only red right now. So like you guys mentioned earlier about the customization, maybe perhaps change the front, top, or the color. We're thinking into the future if it's possible for us to make into different color, allow the user to customize it.
Yeah, I really like the graphics card supports there for those, triple slot monsters that are coming out. The GPU slots.
Yes.
Was that by big request? Something that a lot of people are asking for?
Yes, we actually have another GPU holder. It's the universal one, which is magnetic. You can just put it on here and use it.
With any case?
With any case, not just Cooler Master, any cases you want to purchase. And we actually sell it on Newegg right now as well. So there's a lot of people buying it on Newegg as well. So you actually can look it up and purchase it.
And that's really needed. We were talking about, Asus is one of the sponsors of this. They just launched their 1080 Ti Strix, which is like, the size of a big hamburger. It's hefty. But yeah, you're going to get some sag on that sort of thing. It's super cool. How easy is it to do, from what you're looking at this thing and from your experience, to actually take this apart if you wanted to actually go and paint the whole inside white or do a two-tone color? Is it a lot of work, or is it something that leave to the pros?
I'm not the modder, but then to take this apart is not that hard. But obviously Dwayne's the expert in this, so he can tell you a little bit more about it.
Especially with this one, it's easily, because they make a lot of pieces interchangeable and they can take them off and pop them off. It's going to be quite easy to do that. To strip it down, this particular model, you probably have to strip it down in a short amount of time. It would be kind of cool though if you could come up with a panel that could be switched out with a different color.
Yes.
That would be really, really neat.
So to add, I forgot one thing. The panel in the middle here, it's actually, when the refresh come out in June, this panel is actually removable. So when this panel is removable in the middle, the partition panel, you can actually paint the panel into the color that you want. And also we'll be coming out with an accessory that has a LED light panel in the bottom. So the whole bottom panel, partition panel here, will have LED.
Oh,
Yeah, we actually demoed it at CES, so
Yeah.
people should see it coming out by June. So.
No, that's super cool. And one guy online is saying that he loves that handle on the top. Would have loved to have that back in the day for taking to LAN parties. Personally, I love handles. I love also small form factor PCs and anything that's more movable. Has there been like internal discussion about like handles and like that it's an actually big requested thing? Because now it's sideways rather than the previous.
Yes. So this is actually going back to what you mentioned about a stormtrooper or striker. It's the handles holding it like this. So people find it more convenient holding it with one hand than two hands.
Yeah.
So that way it's easier to lift it up rather than moving it this way. So it's easier to carry it on one side. So that's why we went back with our traditional handle that we have in the past.
Sweet. Can people buy that top portion, that new handle, and add it to a maker?
Yes. In the later version, you could. Let me see if I can pop this open so you can just see how easy this pop open. So there's 4 screws on top. 6 screws. Well, actually, let me count it. 4 screws on top that can actually take it out. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me tilt it. On top that can take it out, and then you can actually, the future model that we're gonna have the refresh, you can actually install and buy the handle on top and install it on your other cases. So you can see that the 2 handles still here.
Yeah.
So it still exists. We just added additional handle on top.
Sweet. We got a question from Benjamin Wood on YouTube wondering suggested paint types for repainting a case like this. Do you guys know anything internally, or what are your thoughts in terms of paints? If you were to recommend someone that wanted to actually buy one of these, give it a few coats.
It does have the plastic panels on there, but you can still use a regular like acrylics or enamels. Just have to make sure that you put a nice base coat or put an adhesion promoter is what I would use on the bottom of that. So I would rough it up and an adhesion promoter. You can get that from like an auto store or even I think Home Depot and places do that. It's like $7.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's a clear, but actually what it does is in the plastics and stuff, it actually helps, I won't say melt it, but it actually bonds that particular promoter to the plastic, which gives you a whole different surface to work with. And you can put just about any kind of paint you want to do on it. You can do automotive paint. It just depends on your skill level and how much you want to spend. I mean, there's automotive paints. There's one guy that we know that will spend $3,000 just for the paint and put it on. Or you can go and you can buy 2 rattle cans for $12 and do it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's speed, and more my speed as well. I can't imagine spending the big bucks on doing a full paint. I just have too many projects I'd want to do. But so like the paints and the primers that people see, if they're thinking Rust-Oleum, get it like a high gloss, some color.
Sure.
Do you think that would work on the
Absolutely.
on the plastic? Yeah.
I've actually used that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing is though is you got to make sure that if what you're going to intend it to do too. If it's going to be traveling a lot, like you're going to be taking to a lands,
Yeah.
it's going to get scratched. You have the Krylons that are made for plastics, but you're only limited to kind of some colors as of right now. So if it's going to be traveling a lot and you're going to be painting the plastic pieces or the ABS, think about that.
Yeah.
Think about what you want to do with that. If I was to do that, and if I knew if I was going to take this and it's going to be all over the world with me, or I'm going to go to every land so I can participate, I might make it into a mod that might be maybe rustic, or that it's been damaged and stuff, so that when it does get scratched, you don't see it. It adds to the character to it.
Yeah, well, I think probably 90% of people are going to spray it and then take a picture and then post it on PC Master Race or Reddit Battle Stations, which, if you're not a member of that, anyone out there, you should definitely check it out because it is lots of really nice looking cases, PCs, and desktops, which is important. So we got a question on here for ITX. Any plans for a mini ITX version of the 5T? Or is this something that's discussed? I know you can't talk about future releases, but how do you guys see ITX?
ITX is definitely something that we see people are using. We do have plan for ITX, but not this year. Potentially next year we'll have in this kind of form factor version of ITX coming out.
Okay.
So.
Well, there you go. Online, your question has been answered. Sweet. Well, let's actually. So this is the MasterCase 5T. There's another one at the other end of the table, which is the MasterBox 5T. So actually, if you want to bring that down, and let's bring it closer to the middle here, and so we can take a look at that thing.
To the middle or to the?
You can just bring it right if you guys want to go through it.
Okay, sure. So here's the MasterBox 5T. So the whole idea behind MasterBox 5T, MasterCase Maker 5T is that MasterCase Maker 5T has freeform modular system. So if you don't need all the bells and whistles, all those fancy freeform technology, we have the MasterBox 5T, which is still give you the two-tone look and still give you the handle in the top. And, it gives you a little bit clean look, simple. If you don't need fancy cases, you just want something that's simple to build in. So you can see that, regular window side panel still painted red in the interior. And then the front panel is easy to take out and it's translucent, so you can actually put LED fans inside and have a really nice look. So.
Looks great. It looks like a slightly different style than the last MasterBox 5. That was one of the launch ones. We had one of those here that I built in.
Yes, it's a little bit different because MasterBox 5 people, it's for more of people who just building a case for, for their general use, just to serve online. So this was a little bit towards more gamer style. So that's why we added the T in the back, kind of like the turbo version, two-tone version kind of ish.
So any plans for like tempered glass with this one, or?
We are actually looking into having tempered glass. So you guys should see one out, I would say in a month or so. We're actually working with someone with a tempered glass version, which I can't disclose yet, but you will see one coming out soon.
Is it Gorilla Glass? No.
No. But it's going to be a tempered glass version that's coming out.
Cool. So, again, Dwayne, what do you think about like any ideas that you're looking at this thing, or things that the home builder maybe on a budget side would consider if they were wanting to take this and kind of make it their own?
This one would be fairly easy to do that with. Absolutely. The good thing, most modders, if you ask guys, they want cases that don't have side windows. They don't want the tempered glass and stuff, because they want what they call just like a blank canvas. So with the side panels that are solid on these, and there's not a whole lot of other decoration on this, this is open to make it whatever you want it to be. Fairly easy. You've got the flat side panels. You could paint this really easy. You could take this one apart, probably half hour, have it apart, be able to paint the inside, be able to sand it. If you're lucky enough, you have a sandblaster, you can take some of the metal down to the metal. You don't always have to take paint all the way off. A lot of it you can just scratch up really, really rough and then go from there. Again, the vinyl wrap is again coming back, like you said. What it is what's so nice about that is if you put it on and you have your case like wrapped in wood for a year and you don't like it, off it comes off and you can do something else.
Yeah, so sometimes it just comes off on its own without even.
Yeah, unfortunately it does. But there's ways that you can almost get around it. Sometimes you can glue down the edges a little bit and help it. But yeah, no, I like it. I like the front. I like this panel here. It would be very easily to add some lights in the back side of this. You get that glow out of the side or out of the top. Same thing here. If you put a lighted LED up in here.
The LEDs are one of the things that have changed so much. Last year when ASUS released, motherboards with 4-pin LED headers on it, and then all of a sudden, now you can just connect any 12-volt LED strip on it, and it just made just life so much easier. But actually, why don't we talk about that a little bit? Cases, lights. I know that this has the red LEDs built into it. You got some new RGB fans. But what have you seen in terms of the trends of cases and RGBs and lights and light control? Is there any discussion on? I know a lot of your products are Aura, ASUS certified.
Yes. So actually, we do have a lot of RGB fan coming out already. It's already on Newegg as well, and I believe it's sold out. So unfortunately, you guys probably won't be able to get it until a couple of weeks later. So we do have our RGB fan available. We even have the liquid cooling that also have RGB as well. So we have a lot of RGB coming out. And then a thing that's a little bit different from us was other people is that our RGB fans actually work on the motherboards compatible with all the motherboards out there. And also at the same time, if your motherboard is not compatible, we do have the controller available later on that you can use our controller to control it. So that way, you don't have to worry about, if it doesn't work with the motherboard, you have some other solutions that you can use.
Sure. Looks pretty good. Well, let's actually take a look at some more pictures online from some of the other mods. I was looking at ones that you've done. The Fallout 3 mod is pretty epic. We can cut back to the pictures of this thing.
Yeah, actually, that's
what is the story on this guy?
that. Again, this was for our staff versus staff contest.
Really?
And I spent it was on this one. I think we were only allowed to spend like $200. So the most money that I really spent was probably getting the Game Boy right there. Well, not the Game Boy, but the was it the Pit-Boy 3000 or whatever it was. Because truthfully, is I never even played the game.
Yeah.
So I actually had to buy the game and go through the game and find out what the aspects of the game that really reached out.
Life.
I know, right?
You gotta play Fallout 3.
Right, it's really tough. But
So I'm noticing a stock cooler in here. Is that stock Intel?
Yeah, so almost.
Post-apocalyptic. Yeah.
Actually, I think it was a Thermaltake. I don't know what that was. There might even be a picture of it in there. But the whole idea was it was stuff that was going to be laying down around, because of the futuristic and stuff. And it was, again, the staff versus staff. We only had to spend, I think it was like $200 was the most. And I think I spent about $60 for the Pip-Boy. Everything else I made on the case. And one of the things that I learned is I wanted to make the rust look real. Right? I just don't wanted to airbrush it on, and it looked like an airbrush. So something that I learned out of doing all this, which was really kind of cool, is that you could lay down, I think there's some pictures in there that you can actually lay down different color browns and some grays, just splatter them around.
So yeah, let me pull those pictures up of how you did that.
So that one there, what I did is I actually cut it and bent it so that it looks like somebody had fallen into it and destroyed the case. But the way that pattern is that I did that because that's how the rust would be. So you wanted different colors behind the rust.
Sure.
The whole magic to that, when the last picture was hairspray.
Really?
Yeah, and that's what I said when I was reading this. I'm like, hairspray, what is that going to do? So what it does is, when you do that and you put hairspray down on top of that layer, and then in the next picture you'll see it's got the gray on top of it. You add water on top of the paint, and in the next picture you'll see that you can actually scratch it, and that layer of gray actually comes off, and it looks like it's been ripped off or scratched off. It looks like it's been actually damaged. And it comes out and it looks like real damaged and rust for a long, long time. And it took me maybe an hour to do that.
Really?
Yeah. But it was something that I've learned, and I've actually used that on other things in the past, and making the Nuka-Cola caps, beer bottle caps.
Rich man.
Printed off the cola tops and stuck them on there, and did the same thing. A lot of that I used to make it look like it was darker on the sticker part of it was actually pencil lead.
Huh.
So I took that and just rubbed it over the top of it, and it made it look like it was old.
I mean, that's the secret of all these things. They think that they cost fortunes, and at least that's what
the only thing it cost me probably the most on that was my time.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I had about 80 hours into that one particularly. That one again, it was my favorite, and NVIDIA had called me up and said, we want to buy it. And I'm like, I don't know. And then he called me back later, Romeo, and he's like, we want it. We want to give it away.
Did he do the thing where he said,
almost, yes.
this is our offer, and you're like,
it did. Well, it was kind of like they said, well, he said, how much would you sell it for? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's my favorite.
how much you want it?
Yeah, pretty much what it came down to. And I said, this much. 3 days later, ship it. And I'm like, wow.
Well, NVIDIA, man, they sell a lot of graphics cards, so
yeah,
they
got a few bucks behind them, I think.
They should definitely be supporting the scene. So one thing cool about that case that mod that you did, it's got a little bit on the side there of as if it were a TV, and that's one of the questions that came up, and sort of one of the big trends that are happening now that you're seeing some other companies, some modders and different things do, which is stripping down a LCD flat screen, and so you don't have the backlight, and actually attaching that to a side panel window, and then having it controlled by like Rainmeter or some other software, having it just basically be a second monitor. Have there been any discussions at Cooler Master for doing that? Have you guys seen that? I know it's like the lowest possible yield, super difficult to pull off from a manufacturing perspective.
We actually saw one. We actually brought one to CES where we had a small case. And we actually someone ripped the panel from an iPad and put it in the front of the case.
That's right, I saw that, yeah.
So actually it was a fully functional case, and you had your little monitor, and it was good for testing a lot of VR applications and bringing it to different events. So that was one of the cool things that I saw recently.
Yeah. Actually did one. There's in the pictures there. It's another
Yeah.
Doom mod that I put
me
an
pull that
LCD
up.
screen in the side of it, a whole side of it.
Doom Mod 2016?
No, it's the yellow one. It just says Doom.
Let me find
Do you
that.
still keep the work logs online, or where do we see all this stuff?
Yeah, a lot of the work
Yeah.
logs are online at
It's
Modern
just
Inc.
online,
Underneath
right?
me, if you search it, it might be under my handle, which is American Freak.
All right, so we're going back to this Doom mod.
Again,
thing
this
is-
was another staff versus staff, and it was all stuff that we learned. How I made that is it's a foam underneath of it.
I was going to say, it kind of looks like mashed up bananas.
Kind
A
of.
little bit.
It
The
does.
horns are.
It does, but it's foam underneath it, and then what you use is cornstarch, water, and lemon juice,
Wow.
and it makes this hard, pliable kind of
Yeah.
plaster that you can use. So in the side there that you can see
The side panel.
is where it's going to go an LCD panel. There should be one later in there that actually shows the game playing on it. So that's where the LCD panel is on the side.
Yeah, that's
So-
definitely not the latest Doom.
No, and that was the whole idea. Was we were
do
going,
retro.
we were trying to go retro. So that was the
Yeah.
rocket. That was actually supposed to be the case for the rocket,
Yeah.
and then that was the final character, the boss at the end, to
Yeah,
go
no,
through
pretty,
that.
Pretty cool.
But like you were saying, like my original idea was just to use the LCD screen itself, and it worked. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to get the darkness and the red and get all that other crazy stuff into there to get that really tone. And found out that if just using the screen itself, you had to put a lot more white behind it, and it kind of washed out what I wanted to do.
Sure. Sweet. Well, why don't we go ahead and why don't you guys swap out with, we got some more people from Cooler Master here who have some interesting other stuff to show you. You can hang on out. And I want to look at some more pictures with you as you guys are switching out mics and the rest of it. So let's actually talk about the 9 Inch Nails one. I'll just pull that one up. Or I should say the Quake one.
Yeah, as you can tell, it's kind of id themed or Quake.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, look, Quake and all their games are
my
super
favorite
popular.
games, because that's what the games I grew up on. Was the Doom ones and the Quake. Quake was my favorite. Once I found out that there was multiplayer in Quake, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm done.
Yeah,
I never played a single player game. Almost never finished one since then.
yeah.
So this is actually the railgun ammo pack, and it's an actual small PC. It was a Lee and Lie case that this one came out of.
And you were just tearing this thing apart. Jeez.
It was, and it was kind of difficult to do it because it literally was only maybe 7 inches tall, maybe 4 or 5 inches in the square,
Face
and
cut.
it was harder to work on. But I needed to make sure that the rivets and the coloring was right.
Yep.
And then what I use is some plastic. So the nail part is actually screws. They're screws that I got through a hardware site that are plastic, and I cut them off and made them up to make them look like the top of the nails. Mm-hmm. And I put them around the top. So those only go as big as that, and I had to find out how far I could actually go down inside the case, how far I could set them down to not interfere with any of the hardware on the inside. So if you would see that in person, you would almost say, yeah, that's about actual size.
Yeah.
If it would have been for if you're playing into the game. And we actually ended up, I took that to QuakeCon, and one of the people that was in charge of QuakeCon, runs part of it, they kept coming back, and they kept saying, that's going home with me, that's going home with me, that's going home with me. It never did make it home with them, but the following year, we get to do a presentation on stage, and we actually gave it to him on stage.
Wow.
So it was pretty nice.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that there aren't more themed cases that are, like this, given that, how, funky they are and how big some of these games are. This is obviously Quake, you mentioned Doom, Overwatch is obviously huge. There's a lot of peripherals that we see, but not necessarily, full-on cases all the time.
Well, I think Cooler Master, though, I think you guys for them, for manufacturers, it's got to be, they've got to appease the masses. It would be tough for them to say, okay, we're just going to make an Overwatch case and sell maybe 50 of them.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or maybe it might be something from a design. But for me, that's where the creativity comes in, and it kind of helps out like Cooler Master and say we need an Overwatch case because we want to drag people into the booth and see the stuff and get the creativities going.
Yeah, for us it's great. Like we come up with something that's sort of like a canvas, right? And then people really put put their creativity and all the different kind of modifications they want into the peripherals or whatever case that they're using. So I think that works out pretty good.
It does, especially when you can get some cases that have a great base to them for somebody like myself. There's the people out there that do see the creativity. You know, the first thing you see a case, like I might see and go, oh, that's really cool, but I would do this, or I'd like to do this, or make that.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to make it individually, and that's how I got into the case modding.
Right.
Was I wanted to make it mine. I wanted to make it that nobody else had something that I did.
But one of the things that we do is going back to the vinyl topic that we talked about. Some of these vinyls will become like we can start putting a little bit more theme, different types of patterns onto it. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer, because a lot of these kind of different collaboration, it would take a little bit more of a time to negotiate and
right, because you guys got to handle with the licensing fees and stuff. So me, I can get away with it.
Sweet. Well, we're welcoming a new guest to the stream. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm John, Cooler Master, Party Manager.
Sweet. And we got some comments online, so they're really impressed with the paint technique. One guy says, I build models, and that is a work of art. Love the colors. And then this is awesome. And so, you know, we got a lot of props on that. It is definitely a thing that I see. There's people that mod, this is something you mentioned before, they mod for the style and the artwork of it versus, say, performance tuning or, you know, having different sort of, you know, structural aspects to it.
Yes. That's what mine, I'm a theme modder is what I like to call it. So I like to pick something and then build around that. And you don't have to, like the Fallout one, there's a few items on there, but I made sure that it was recognizable stuff. You have to have the keycaps. Right, you had to have that. You had to have the pit boy, you know. And then, like you're saying, like the screen on the side was actually, with just green plexiglass that had laser edge. But that was a terminal in the game where you always had to go and you tried to hack into it, right? But if you read through there, I actually took and it was tough because I had to type it in. That's what was actually in the game, and then I hid some hidden messages inside there as well. And then the big red button that was on the side of the case, just like in the terminal in the game where you kept pushing the button, it did nothing. That button did nothing. And people would always push it.
That's really good. Well, so for people who are just tuning in, we're live streaming from Newegg Studios. I am Josh from Newegg and Unlocked, and you can check out unlocked.newegg.com for more hardware news and reviews and a lot of cool content that covers these products. And we're with the Cooler Master guys as well as Dwayne from Modders Inc. Talking about new Cooler Master products, case modding, and this power supply. So Cooler Master is no stranger to power supplies. Is this the world's most expensive power supply ever released?
Well, this could be one of them. I'm not aware of every single one, but it all started like 2 years ago. We wanted to change the discussion. We wanted to have this conversation that we're having right now. And in order to do that, we had to work with one of the greatest partners that we've worked with. So we had to work with one of the greatest partners that we had to work with 2 years ago. And it turned out to be a Murata manufacturing company in Japan.
Yeah.
And that whole discussion and 40 engineers, and the end result is a limited edition power supply that you can see on Newegg, the Master Watt Maker MIJ.
Sweet. Yeah, I used to work, I'm an audiophile, love the audiophile industry. Murata is one of these companies that makes super tweeters that go well above human hearing. You know, they're great for audiophiles and also freaking out your dog. But so it's interesting to hear that Murata coming back up because they are, in the world of sort of behind the scenes electronics, they are a premium company that not a lot of people know about. But when people think power supplies, they're either typically looking for, what is the 80 plus rating, or what is the total wattage, or rails and various other things. But for the general consumer, they're looking at normally at a price per watt or sort of an efficiency. But who is this kind of really for? Because it's really a fairly niche product, like you mentioned, high price, just like sort of a labor of love of power supplies that from a distance doesn't look like it's it's not clad in gold, it's not RGB, it's got LEDs flashing everywhere. So who is sort of the audience? What has sort of been the response that you've gotten from people that have seen it?
Well, the power supply industry is all about standards, like you mentioned, and we have the basics, titanium efficiency, 1200 watts, analog design. So from the basics, people have appreciated that inherently, but we move towards the Murata secrets. Whatever they implemented inside the power supply, the planar transformer, the new way of designing the PFC stage, all of these things, we've seen a great amount of positive feedback as far as engineering people, technical people, and when we share with people, when we have an open design, we actually opened up the power supply, people really could appreciate all that level of detail. We have those kind of people. Then we also have people who are building a computer that is like a modding computer. These people who build these $1 million PCs. And for them, $1,000 power supply is like a $100 power supply for your grandpa or your dad building a computer. It's just a different level of scale.
Yeah.
And when they want to have the best of the best, they can only choose Cooler Master on this one.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely a unique product. What do you think? Do you want to like crack it open and like you know, paint out the inside? Yeah.
Always. Yeah, always. My question is it was actually a small discussion that we had within our own group, is when is the shape or the evolution of the design of a power supply ever really going to change? It's been kind of in a cube shape for decades. Do you think that ever is going to evolve anywhere? Or is it just going to be, this is made to fit the case because the case is kind of the way it's always been as well? I mean, before, power supplies used to be always in the top. And then when somebody moved it to the bottom, it was revolutionary and everybody was freaking out about it. But the design of the power supply really hasn't changed.
Yes, and that's something that we've thought about really deeply, because when we've seen over the last 10 years, we've seen different standards come about, and we've seen like DTX. And then we'd also seen, like you mentioned, different behaviors, like people putting the power supply on the top or people putting the power supply on the bottom. But it all comes down to the ATX standard.
Yeah.
And what we've been looking at with our industrial design is making sure that the back, which attaches to the computer, is standard.
Right.
And what we've done is, as you can see in our product line, we've taken the length and we've actually worked with our manufacturing to make sure that the components can be as compact as possible.
Yeah.
So if you can look at our V series, our GM series,
Yes.
they're pretty short, maybe
Yeah.
about 150 millimeters. So that we've done just as something to improve ourselves. But I think you mentioned towards the future, as a power supply gets smaller, we can be a little bit more creative with the form factors we put into. So it's kind of like a chicken or the egg. So if we want to make a nice looking power supply that's small or shaped like a diamond or shaped like a trapezoid or something else, then we'd have to have like the application, like a case. And we've been working, like what Wei said, we've been working with a lot of small form factor designs internally, and we've been wanting to figure out what would be the best power supply layout to put into them. But as power supplies are all subject to industry standards, we want to keep them as standardized as possible. And in the future, anything is possible, especially with the future of cases.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like you said, one follows the other one. So, and it's in the particular standards. It's like the video card. Why is the video card upside down? And originally, what it was is because video cards didn't have fans on them. So if you had it in the upright position with a cooler on top of it, right, when you just had the fins, it would collect and have dust on it, and it would heat up. So somebody said, well, we'll put all the stuff on the other side, on the bottom. But sometimes that's the most beautiful part of the whole video card, is that's where the shroud is and all the graphics, and you see none of that. At some point in time, somebody said, we'll just move the PCIe slot down a little bit. We can flip everything over. That would be, for a modding aspect, it'd be like, the lights would go on and people glowing, ooh, ah.
Well,
because that's why you see a lot of them. We see a lot of them now where they flip over the whole motherboard.
Yep.
You get to see a lot more of what you really want to see.
And I think I'd have to ask you, Dwayne, that in modding community, there's sort of a love-hate relationship with the power supply, because in some mods, it's hidden away someplace, whether it's in the back or on the bottom.
Yeah.
And in other mods, people really want to show off the creativity, and they put all the cables out in the front. So could you comment a little bit about how people do it?
So let me say right off the beginning, I am not a big fan of the single stranding sleeving. When I started off, the whole idea was to hide as many as possible.
Yes.
And then the whole trend now is like, let's do, all the cables. So you're sitting there for 16 days trying to do all your cabling. I think it's tremendous. I think it's fabulous. I love the way they do it, the dedication of how many hours they put into it and the whole community that's into that, particularly, but it's not my style. I've always liked the minimalistic, it's less is more. So if you had one bundle going somewhere instead of like 24, but there is that whole trend out there of that, and it's all the power supply companies go about that. That's just my personal feelings about all of that. But I think it's gorgeous, and it's great in the creativity, and a lot of guys will change it up to like solid wires stuff, so you can get the straight bend, and you can do that. I come from the like a construction side of stuff. If you go into a building like we are in Newegg and stuff, if you look around on the electrical, the guys that come in and do electrical running and the piping, you will see that same kind of pattern. I think it's probably what they looked at it. Somebody said, "Wow, I could do that with those wires." It's everything is per size. I mean, there could be 40 cables or 40 pipes right in a row, and these guys have got to make sure it's perfect, and it's a work of art. I think it's a lot of work.
It's one of these things that it's changed so much with Windows and tempered glass, and now everything.
Yeah.
You've got the 12-volt header, so everything's a lot more lit up inside the cases, and so there's just people want to show off their gear. Like I personally like building test benches, like wood test benches and stuff, because I want to see everything. That's kind of my deal, and I like that, because everything now is just stepping up. Like I want to show that off. In a sense, it'd be a shame to like hide it, where you're not going to see it. Like put some little lights on there. Point out that this is a $1,000 power supply. That's made using all the best tested caps and everything.
I did the same thing with the Doom mod. Is I wanted to, since it was there, and I wanted to use it. I used it for props. I put the aerospace, and all the designs and all the stuff, and made it part of the inside of the mod. It's definitely, you can do that with it, or a lot of the shroudings now. So they put shrouds in a lot of the PCs, or like you get in the Cooler MasterCase there, where it's got the cover across it. You're kind of hiding it because some people don't want to show it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. So speaking of the sleeve cables, I believe there's some promo or something going on with sleeving cables for this.
Yeah, so because we thought about this as all Japan made, everything with Murata, so built, designed, assembled in Japan. So apparently there's a lot of modders in Japan that are very attention to detail, like you mentioned, right? Yeah. The sleeve, the amount of time they put into one single strand is insane.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so we worked with one of the top modders in Japan, who also owns actually a business doing this, just purely cables. So he worked with us on creating a few sets of these to give away to whoever purchases a unit of the MIJ. And basically, he shot a video of how he did it. It's just like every little detail. It's shown in that video, time lapsed, and it usually costs about $100 to $200 for him to do one set. And and we're giving that away because of the whole collaboration, and there's a lot of different things that we can do with it. So
yeah, online we have on our Facebook, Alexander comments, can we please move towards less RGBs and more premium materials? And I think that's definitely kind of how the industry is going, completely lit up like it's a Christmas tree, versus, that trend's probably, it's going to have its own people, and then on the other side it's going to be, really premium materials, premium product, in a sense more audiophile or like super high-end luxury car style, maybe how it shakes up. But have you guys had any comments of like, oh no, this thing needs to have an RGB fan inside?
Well, I think RGB is one of those trends that's not going to go away for the next year at least, and it gives people a lot of creativity when they want to change from a red to a blue, because in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, there used to be red people and blue people, right?
Oh yeah, you've got all the people that only use certain colors, even the green, or yes, the yellow, and it's easier, like you're saying, for the RGB. You can say, well, I want it to be all blue now, and you're able to do that. It's a lot easier for somebody who doesn't want a specific color and they want to change it up. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about RGB is you got RGB in your case. It doesn't have to be rainbow all the time. You don't have to have it on the rainbow settings. It's just like, So yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense that all the LEDs transition to RGB simply so that you can light up a case with the theme that you'd wanted. Personally, I'd love to see more, whether they're sleeved or just different cable designs coming from the manufacturers. There's the extensions, but having them directly, so it's that super clean look, how it mounts to the power supply. There's sometimes some have done some, solid metal connectors, but, I actually, love the trend of, for the industry for a long time was this sort of race to the bottom or, value, price per watt. But thinking about, this is a premium industry, and a lot of the guys that are getting back in the industry, they haven't, say, owned a PC for 10 years. And things have changed in the last few years. The industry started to grow. People that are, that were gaming back in college 10 years ago now have jobs and have money and want to actually spend some real money on their PCs. They don't just want the cheapest thing possible. So what has been the response like in terms of, obviously it's for sale on Newegg, but I imagine that this is a limited special edition version?
Yes, and actually we're keeping a good eye on it. We've only made less than 250 pieces all around the world, keeping it a very limited production. But the response has been very positive, mainly because, like you mentioned, people wanting these premium materials. And for us in power supply, we don't really think about the exterior as much as other product categories, but we think about all the materials being in the interior. So with this power supply, 80% of the materials were hand-selected or made in Japan. And Cooler Master collaborated and made the fan, because that's what we do. We do cooling. But aside from that and the external enclosure, everything in here is either been made for us or is a customized part that Murata ordered.
Yeah, is this, can we crack it open? Is that
No, it's anti-tamper right now, but I'm sure that once we get one of our colleagues to mod it and can just open it up, get out his Dremel.
Yeah. I'll just, you may not be here when we leave. I might just put it in my suitcase.
But it's okay. They're all individually serial numbers, so I'll know where you are.
I can always file it off.
Yeah.
I can do.
So so this is the for people who are watching, the Cooler Master MIJ. How many watts does it have?
1,200 watts.
1,200 watts, and the fan kicks on at?
50% load, so 600 watts.
Wow, so it's completely silent up to 600 watts. But obviously Cooler Master makes other power supplies, so ones that are not made in Japan. But is there some sort of trickle down tech that's going on along with this? Because I know that the Japanese capacitors and that sort of thing is a factor for the other power supplies.
So what we've done is in the last 2 years, we worked very closely internally to redefine our product segments, and that's why we have different product naming. We have like, for example, MasterCase or MasterBox, and for power supplies, it's Master Watt. And this is the Maker edition, so that's the best of the best. Our target audience are those advanced hobby users, like people who are engineers and so forth. But like you were mentioning, all the things that we've learned from working with one of the top manufacturers, we're actually redefining the way we build and design and spec out some of our mainstream power supplies. So in the next 6 months to a year, you're going to see Master Watt or other power supplies that have some different components in it. And some of those 80% of the components that are in here that are hand-selected, some of their attributes can be used and benefit other people who are not willing to spend as much money.
Sure. Well, it's pretty cool. Well, so for people who are tuning in, we are live at the Newegg studios. I'm Josh from Newegg and Unlocked. The guys from Cooler Master showing off a whole bunch of new stuff. Dwayne from Modders Inc. And we're really celebrating the Cooler Master Case Mod World Tour 2017. So entries have been closed, so you got in, good luck to you. But Dwayne's one of the judges to judge some of the case mods that are happening. Yep. If you are in the LA area, you can see Dwayne as well as the guys from Junkies Mods, NVIDIA Garage, as well as Cooler Master tomorrow at the Newegg Hybrid Center. So the Newegg Hybrid Center is a hybrid of a whale call center and an event space. It's sort of like a mini PAX, just quite a bit smaller. So tomorrow the guys will be there doing some cool stuff and showing off some mods, showing off, taking questions obviously. But definitely go over to meetup.com. Check the links below or go to unlock.newegg.com for full details where you can sign up. The event's being thrown by Vu here at Newegg, and that guy knows how to throw a party. So there's snacks, there's PCs, more snacks, and prizes as well. So we're actually giving away, well, he'll be doing some raffles and some other cool stuff actually at the event. But let's actually move over to talk about peripherals.
Peripherals.
Peripherals. So I'm personally a big fan of the Cooler Master keyboards. I own a Nova Touch. It's over on my desk, which is now discontinued. But why don't we go ahead and take a little swap it out. I'm going to pull up some more, one more mod that you did, and so we can talk about that. This is the Asus Hummer mod. What is the story behind this thing?
So they wanted a military theme, but it couldn't be really military, if that makes
Did
any
Asus
sense.
commission this?
Yes, they did. This was for Computex probably
Zoom in here.
maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So it couldn't be a gun, it couldn't be anything that would be kind of like this, but they still wanted a military theme because at that time they were going through a military phase in their products. So I was the one who decided to do a case. Some of the guys did smaller ones where they actually did just motherboards themselves, but I decided to do a whole case on that. And looking around, I saw that there was a Hummer. I'm like, yeah, that would be cool. That's got the rocket launcher on top of it, and it's able to at least do something with that. Again, looking at the product and looking at what I had, I decided to make a door, again, on the Windows side. So that door actually opens up, you can reach in, do with the products. Added to the aesthetics of that, the door actually has little pins in there so you can pull that door off like you would like a real Hummer if you don't want the doors on the side of it. So I tried to throw in some of those ideas and try to get some of the aspects and looks from an actual Hummer. So like the front bumper there, that would be the grill that would be on the front of it. So it protected, I actually, and probably can't see it in there, but I actually put the little loops on there. So if you had to hook a chain onto it, you wanted to pull another vehicle out or pull it out if it was stuck. So it's, a lot of it is you don't have to go really crazy on the stuff. Just pick a few things, because if you go too much, you're just gonna dilute what you're trying to do. And you just grab a few ideas and make them look right and make it look like it all fits together. And you can come up with something spectacular on that.
Yeah, this thing's pretty wild.
I don't know where that one's at either. But I enjoyed that one. That was one. It was a very short timeline on that one. I had about 2 weeks on that. So trying to do my full-time job and this, it was exciting. But I enjoyed it, and the lighting. You know, for me, I like to make the LEDs individually, so I can light up certain aspects of the case, or let's say they want to highlight, maybe that they wanted to highlight the CPU cooler, so I can adjust where the lighting's hit, or kind of like you do in a studio here, where you make lighting the certain way that you want to do it.
The motherboard you also painted as well, right?
I did paint the motherboard. It had that, it was the Tough. I think it was the Asus Tough series.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I painted that to try to match the outside. So I tried to make the inside, like it would be like in the military, like a Hummer. So
Sweet. All right, well, we are back and we're going to talk peripherals. Cooler Master, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the Newegg audience.
Hey, I'm Brandon. I'm the community manager.
And so community manager, that means you talk to all the social people on Twitter, and
Yes.
or is it the modding community, or all of the above?
All the above. I get to meet all kinds of fun, interesting people through the internet, so you can only imagine some of the fun people and conversations I get to have. But in general, it's a good group of people, and it's really cool because I get to interact with them on a daily basis. So I get to learn a lot. I'm usually the first one to hear really good feedback about our products, in the wild. So I'm always, open on Reddit. I'm on Discord. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitch. I'm on everything you could imagine. Newegg TV.
Sweet. So let's talk peripherals. I actually was talking to someone, and we're talking about Cooler Master keyboards, which we don't actually have any out there right now, but we got some lit up in the background, all RGB-tastic, and those are the MasterKeys Pro. Why don't you actually walk us through some of you can talk through the keyboard evolution, because Cooler Master was one of the first that did mechs, right in this sort of audience.
So Cooler Master, as you just said, we've long been known for quality when it comes with our keyboards. And one of the things we've been focusing a lot on with our newer Pro series is that professional gamer aspect. From the subtle things that are a little bit more like the simplistic design without all the flashy logos on it, to more of the hardcore things that people are looking for at that level, which is like the full cherry MX keys. So, you know, the per key backlighting, I mean, all those little features add up to a really nice premium keyboard. And we offer it in numerous sizes, from small to large. So if you need the 10 key, it's there. If you don't, you can get it without it. And then I know earlier we were talking about some RGBs and how not everyone's a big fan. We also have a white version, which is just regular backlit white. Which is great for people that maybe don't want that full rainbow of color looking at them at any one point.
Yeah, what most people don't know is that if you get an RGB keyboard, it's impossible to actually turn it white. No, that's not true, right? No, you can actually, so that's the thing, you can make it,
Kinda.
yeah, you don't have to have it rainbow all the time, you can do cool stuff. So for me, I like to set up my keyboards usually if they're RGB with like different themes, or obviously map out the keys for different games that I'm playing. I'm a lefty, keyboard, weird side, so I do different things. But like I was mentioning earlier, I own one of the Nova Touches. So that was one of the first keyboards that introduced Topre switches, again, from Japan. One of these, you know, labors of love for massive keyboard nerds. For people that are wondering, because that was such a huge hit in the Mac keyboard community, what's the story with Topre? Is it coming back? What is the sort of evolution for Kuma Master?
Well, I mean, I know Topre is like a huge popular thing, especially on the Nova Touch. Even to this day, when I'm reading the Reddit, like mechanical keyboards subreddit, all I hear is Nova Touch, Nova Touch, Nova Touch. People love that keyboard, mainly because it was simplistic, it had a good feel. The Topre switches feel like nothing else, you know, because they're kind of that weird hybrid. We had our own special twist on it because it did still take the Cherry MX stem in the middle, which was kind of unique to Cooler Master. As far as what's going to happen with Nova Touch in the future, can't really talk about it, but there might be something coming up, but we'll see.
Sweet. Now, what about sort of the Memcanical? It's kind of like the Nova Touch. What's the real story behind that?
So Memcanical is one of those things that Cooler Master developed basically as more of a entry-level type of feel for people that maybe don't want a mechanical keyboard or want some of the benefits that come with actually having a rubber dome keyboard, because there are actual benefits to that. For example, on our MasterKeys Lite combo with the Memcanical switch, it is still a Cherry MX keycap compatible keyboard. So if you do want your own set of keycaps, you can just, you know, order them and customize it as you please. But one of the cool features about that particular keyboard is that it also has a water resistant capability. So if you spill your coffee or you spill your liquids on it, it's not a big deal. You just kind of rinse it off, let it dry, and you're right back in the gaming action.
Sweet. Now, one thing I did for my Nova Touch was I replaced the keys with PBT keycaps, specifically Leopold low profiles. They make them for other things. I don't want to get too deep into the nerd weeds of keycaps, but what is the story with sort of the PBT keycaps that are coming up? I know that they were announced at CES, shown there. They're a slight blue color, but how does Cooler Master feel about crazy plastics?
Well, we actually have a PBT series that's going to be coming out soon for the purists that want the no LEDs. They just want that really solid typing experience. So there's going to be a lot of people that are happy about that. So, I mean, you can definitely see the difference in PBT versus the regular keycaps. I mean, they're a little bit thicker, they're a little bit more sturdy, they don't, you know, bend, they don't fade over time from the oils in your hands and wearing down. So there are benefits to them. One of the cons is they don't really reflect the RGB lighting that well, which is why our normal keyboards, they're not going to be backlit. It's just very basic and plain. So for those typing purists out there, PBT is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and they legit make a difference. Like, there's one of these things, you mentioned like they don't wear down, but it's on a normal keyboard, you know, you'll get shine on the space bar within like a week, maybe a couple days. PBT doesn't do that, and it's also like a little bit grittier of a feel. So I'm actually excited to see that happening, and I think, you know, PBT will start to show up. It'll be like sort of the next tempered glass button input, if that's possible. I don't know. We'll see. But actually, let's, one more question I have about the keyboards is, there's kind of, you know, traditional keyboards, you know, the purist style, and then there's these new ones that have, you know, wheels every which way and, you know, multiple connections and all sorts of stuff. What is, you know, you guys are more on the traditional side. Is there, you know, reason for that? Are you planning on adding more wheels, or you want to keep it pretty pure?
Well, To be perfectly honest, we feel that our Pro Series is more geared towards the pro gamer who don't want all that extra stuff, but we understand that there's a need for that for more of our mainstream audience. One of the things that we're currently working on is just kind of getting that community feedback and working with gamers and kind of develop really good keyboards that kind of fit their needs. So in the future, you might see some things from Cooler Master that involve more feature-rich sets, a little bit more over-the-top accents, a little bit more aggressive styling. That stuff's all well and good, and you might see that from us soon. But we're definitely working on some fun new things that you'll see later this year.
Sweet. Well, you know what? Why don't we actually take a little bit of break because Lee from PC Junkie Mods has arrived and he's brought some cool stuff with him. So we're just gonna cut out to a wide shot right now, so you can kind of see the cool stuff. We're gonna set up some fun mods, and then we'll be back, and we'll be back with the guys from Cooler Master and Dwayne, and actually show some new cool stuff that's going on. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But let me know when you guys are pulled out, and we will take a little break. And you know, there's a lot of comments about, damn, that unveiling when we took off, because we're still, you know, people could still see it in, you know, the slow reveal. But yeah, what is the story behind this one right here?
So this mod here, the CSX build, I call it Hellraiser. I did it a while back. There was a lot of mod work that went into this build because of the fact that this is an older chassis. It wasn't designed for like wire management, water cooling, none of that stuff. As you can see, it's fully water cooled. There's a 480 radiator in the bottom. I did a couple revamps to bring it down because it had like, I think a GTX 680 in it or something like that. And I figured, well, at least give it a little bit of an upgrade, put some new liquid in it and stuff. So yeah, it's been around my shop for a while.
Yeah, let's spin this guy around a little bit. Yeah, it looks nice. We can actually, got it plugged in the back if you actually want to crank this guy on.
Do you have the PSU on? Yeah.
Spin it back around. Oh, there he goes.
Hopefully it survived the trip, right?
Yeah, if we see
looks
just
okay.
like
I didn't even look at
liquid
there.
just spraying
Yeah,
out
yeah.
into an audience. No, that's cool. I love the sort of, you know, the interior, the liquid that looks like the white, the milk sort of look.
Yeah.
It's always like a nice contrast, and it's a, you know, a subtle look. But so, you know, for some of the people that don't know you, you know, what is your story? I mean, you've been doing some real cool stuff recently.
So I started off as a hobby doing modding, and then I actually pushed it into a business. Now I have a shop. I share a shop with Mainframe Customs. They do a lot of sleeving. That's where the sleeving and stuff comes from for a lot of my mods. So I do a lot of custom mods for Intel, NVIDIA, Cooler Master, whoever needs a showpiece, you know. So I also do clients and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what I do now.
So what's your current backlog? If someone wanted a PC Junkies mod right now, are they looking in like 2018, 2019 to get it, or is it faster?
No, it's not too bad. I mean, it's probably 2 months out, something
2
like
months
that,
out.
because I got a bunch of projects lined up right now. So it's not too bad.
Sweet. So for people who are tuning in, we're live at Newegg Studios. You'll also be able to meet these guys and check out some of the mods tomorrow at the Newegg Hybrid Center. So check out unlock.newegg.com where you can actually see the full meetup details and sign up for it. It's already pretty booked up. There's a lot of people who want to check this stuff out. So you know, it's pretty cool stuff. With this painting, I'm looking at, are you doing the airbrushing? You got a buddy that does it?
No. So this one actually came from, I think Smooth Creations actually did a bunch of cases for Cooler Master. If you look on the front there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's number 44 of 100. So I got this one from Cooler Master a long time ago.
Yeah.
And just held on to it. So.
Till the time was right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then built it.
I've got the gargoyle one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, the same thing.
Is that the same case, right?
It's the same case. It was a whole line that they were selling at that time.
Yeah, they were on Newegg for a while for quite a penny.
Oh yeah, no, they were quite the penny, but there was
Yeah.
that was the case that it was a different case, and the styling and the painting and stuff that they did was different.
Oh, it was wasn't the Cosmos case? There was 2 cases they did, I think.
My case is just like that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I like that funky window. It's pretty cool. The rivets on the outside.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, you know, are there any cool projects that you're working on now? Because I saw the Dead Mouse project.
Oh
that
yeah.
happened.
That was
funky.
fun. You know, it was
Yeah.
cold up there, but it was fun. He's quite the character.
Is he? He looks
Yeah.
pretty normal on the videos.
He's a gamer. So
Is he?
Yeah, he's a hardcore gamer. But yeah, so what do I got going on that I can talk about?
Can't really talk about anything.
It's, you know, it's always the question of, I mean, I'm building a bunch of crates for a bunch of PCs that I've already done. So,
A lot
and
of
then,
NDA stuff, right?
yeah, there's projects that I don't know if I can talk about. I got a project that's kind of in the works with the ASUS. I got another one with Intel. That's about as far as I can go with those.
All right.
You know, so.
Yeah, it sounds fun. Can't wait to see him. Intel's always doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think the last big project that I did for Intel was the Winston mod.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually had I wrote about that from CES, not this CES, but the year before.
Right.
When they showed it at the Intel, Insider Breakfast thing, and I got a sneak peek, and I took pictures of it, and I think I published pictures of that thing before anyone else.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw that. I don't know
Was
if I was supposed to do it.
Was that when it was still in storage, or
It was. I think it was just a.
at CES, right?
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to debut at CES, and
Yeah.
something happened.
Something happened. Probably one of those like shipping problems. Anyway, so I know they didn't actually show it off, but I got to see it afterwards.
Oh, okay.
And I took some pictures of it because it was just so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty awesome. Was there like with that case or with that that mod, you had Winston, holding the
gun.
reservoir.
Yeah,
as a gun
reservoir.
was the reservoir. Like, did that just like was that like the first idea, or that come up later, or?
Well, me and my buddy Ron Christensen did that, and that was kind of the goal. When I found that reservoir, I was like, oh, this would be so cool to put. I mean, it doesn't really go with his gun because his gun's like a laser gun, But then that reservoir looked like the minigun.
Yeah.
But it just, I was like, dude, we got to put this in the gun. And he's like, okay, let's do it. So we made it work, and it came out pretty cool. So.
Yeah, no, that thing was definitely epic. I remember thinking that, this was so cool. It came out like though, when I wrote about it right before Overwatch just exploded like crazy. Sure,
Yeah.
the beta was out there, but it wasn't what it is right now, which is huge, huge. So what's kind of interesting is, I've been PC gaming for a long time, since original Doom and all that sort of stuff, x86 days and
Before my time.
yeah, so like that was fun stuff. And PCs kind of took a dip,
And then went back up.
consoles, and now it's like, with the internet, with Reddit, the whole thing, it's just, PC master race, PC gaming is back in a big way. Plus also the games are being optimized for PCs rather than consoles.
Yeah.
But have you guys seen that? Have you seen, through the years, just this new uptick of, interest and traction?
When I got into it, it was kind of at that where you were talking about. Kind of took a dip, and then I've just seen it go uphill. What about you, Dwayne?
I've seen the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I got into it, it was really kind of at the beginning, and it just skyrocketed up because it was new.
Yeah.
Nobody really thought about doing all this stuff, the crazy stuff, and for quite a few years, it was at the top.
Yeah.
And then it took a huge dip. I think it was kind of like also economy is why.
Probably, yeah.
Because like you were saying before, there's a lot of people out there now that have extra income, and they're willing to do that stuff because it does take extra money to do some of these items. To go out and buy a water block for a GPU, it could be $200
to $150, yeah.
easily, and then you got to buy all the components. So you could probably be spending $400, $500, $600 easily, depending on what you want to do in water cooling alone.
Yeah.
Big time, yeah.
So
there's some EK blocks in there. It's like, EK's entry level, water cooling. Yeah.
Right. But
Average is what, $1,200, $1,500?
oh yeah, yeah.
It's pretty crazy. It's also interesting, like the aesthetics. I mean, obviously, this is the flames and skulls, but this is an older case. Like, the way things have changed has been really interesting.
Yeah.
It's no more, skulls and stuff as much, unless it's like a full hot rod custom. But like the cases off the shelves, now you can get tempered glass. You can get all sorts of really like high-end looks with custom paints.
Yep.
That aren't custom anymore. They're off-the-shelf automotive or matte finishes, which is interesting. I mean, and I think a lot of the stuff that like you guys have been doing has been helping that trend push up. Have you guys seen anything that's coming up that's new that you think is going to be like the next big thing? Because I think it's wood. I think wood touches going more sort of like even higher end, finishes or classic finishes maybe an interesting trend that's coming up.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of the cases are actually getting to the point where we don't have to do too much interior modifications anymore.
Right.
It's like the water cooling literally just, this lines up and this lines up. I don't got to drill a hole or cut nothing. As far as the outside, I mean, nowadays, like K-Slabs or somebody like that, you can actually order your own color, So you can tell them you want it powder coated whatever color, and they'll do that. As far as paint jobs, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would probably be really the next step for some of these manufacturers is to be able to order a customized like you do a car. Like I want my car to be blue with a green interior, and you'd be able to do that for a premium price, of course. But there are people that will pay that money.
Yep.
I mean, I found out that you can name a price, and there's somebody out there that will do that price without a problem.
Yeah.
You've got guys that'll spend $20,000 on a case.
Or 35.
Or more, yeah, right? Or give you money and never build it, right?
Yeah, there you go too.
Yeah,
It's like
so there's always that price in
Yeah.
demand, and it's always out there.
No, it's an insane thing. Like the actual like modder like community, like this is like a business. This is a full-time job, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like a strange niche of a niche, at least for a lot of people. They think PCs, they think Apple or whatever, but no, this is high performance. And what I think a lot of people think is that this is a niche, but it's also where so many of the advancements are coming from. And especially, what's being informed here is, I think, really changing how desktops, especially sort of the last generation with like Asus did RGB fan headers or a 12-volt LED strip headers on their motherboards, and now that's changing how, LEDs like, so, we're with Cooler Master today.
RGBW now, right?
RGBW, you're adding an extra dedicated white. So maybe that's the next big thing. We joked for our April Fool's thing that it was IUV RGB is the next thing, infrared, UV. It's going to happen.
I remember that.
But going back to the actual like price, one thing that I think people wonder is, you don't have to talk about your quotes, but what would if someone wanted, a guy off the street who's got some money says, I want a custom PC, or if it's a company who says, I want something cool, I'm not in the PC industry, but I want something cool to actually show with my company brand on it. What do you kind of quote them? How do you deal with that?
Those numbers can vary drastically because it really depends on who you bring in to do paint. Like let's say you want a paint job. It depends on who paints it, if they want clear coat or a matte finish, so those numbers, they can go anywhere from, let's say we just do a chassis, no interior, you don't even put any hardware in it, probably $1,500, but that could shoot all the way up to 10 grand.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,500 is probably like your bottom of the barrel, just a paint job on a computer case, because I know Ron, he does a lot of airbrushing and he's really good, and I think that's about his base model price when he shoots a case. So
I think part of the problem is people really don't realize how many hours and how much talent really goes into doing some of that stuff, especially like airbrushing. I wish I could do stuff like that.
Me too.
I mean, it's amazing that you can do that, but once you get into the higher details, that could be 40 hours into just a paint job. So figure somebody who's just an average Joe, maybe 20, 30 bucks an hour he would charge. He's just getting into it. A professional is going to charge 40, 50 bucks or 60 bucks an hour for that. So times that times 40, there you've already got your base price for just a paint job.
Yeah. Imagine when you get 200 hours into something.
Right. Yeah, we've done that.
A lot of work goes in it. They just think that, I want this figure on the side of your case. I got $100. Well, that's not going to work, you know, because that it's not like I'm just going to be able to squirt some paint at it and be done,
Yeah.
How many times have you done that where somebody and you quote them, you're like, well, I got $600. Well, good. Get the guy down the street to rattle can it for you or something.
That happens a lot.
But it's the same thing with a card. I mean, in cars, they can spend just $10,000 on a paint job, and that's just a solid.
Oh, for sure.
Solid color.
Well, you can spend $10,000 on a cleaning, like a full detail for a show. I mean, it's crazy how much the industry's changed and how big this sort of stuff has. Do you see, or for the audience that's out there that's watching, feel free to ask your questions. We have two killer modders with us here at the Newegg studios. They'll also be at the Newegg Hybrid Center tomorrow. Go to check out unlock.newegg.com. Click the link to go over to the meetup so that you can, RSVP, although I think it may be maxed out right now. Probably the fire marshal's going to have to kick people out. Because these events are pretty good. Vu over Newegg Events knows how to throw a party. So there's lots of snacks, and there's, guys will be giving away, not you guys, but Cooler Master, some stuff from Asus may end up in the hands of the audience. Probably won't be throwing one of these cases into the audience, but some of you guys might get some prizes. One of the things about the sort of people that commission these, are they always looking for the looks, or is there a real consideration about performance? Like we were sort of talking about, covering stuff before with, you get crazy with the exteriors and you're not necessarily thinking about thermals, or that's not as much of an important issue, but is that something that you're seeing, performance?
Well, one of my standards is to try to, I go for function regardless, so I mean, when I do a build, I'm going to go for the function over the looks because of the fact that the last thing I want to hear about is the computer blew up at a show or whatever, so they don't ever tell me, well, it needs to perform the best it can. I just shoot for that. So if I do a water cooling loop, I try not to forget to put the radiator in the loop, you know, for instance.
Right.
You know, because it would look best that way, you know. But yeah, so I mean, and then looks as well, as it comes right hand in hand with that. So
How often do you tell people like, so here's the PC, but you can't turn it on?
yeah, you can't, don't touch it.
Or it lights up, but you don't want to plug anything into it. There's no OS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to have both the best worlds, you have to have if you want the show, you have to have the go. And you've got to put the best hardware in there to really show it off, especially if you're going to do like in a contest or something.
Yeah.
You really want to have the ooh and the ahs and everything. But a lot of time in a case mining contest, though, you're not really looking at the hardware. You could have.
You're looking at how much work and what they've done and their creativity. So
Yeah, I mean, there's so many mods out there. I remember, looking at something and going, God, that looks fantastic. And then it's like the specs, and it's like, brand new 680s inside. It's like, oh, well, okay, this is a while ago. This wasn't like this year. But it's hard to tell sometimes how it looks. So one of the things we were talking about with the Cooler Master guys was RGBs. What is your thoughts on, just blasting these things like they're, rainbow, disco infernos?
Well, I mean, I try to go for a theme. Like in here, there's just white light. That's it. But a lot of people got into the RGB, and now all the motherboard manufacturers are getting into RGB, the graphics cards, everybody's getting into that. But now they're like a step behind because now people are jumping into like NeoPixels and stuff like that where you can program them. So that's the next step.
Yep.
That's the next step.
Yeah. But I mean, usually try to go with the thing. I'm not a big fan on the whole rainbow bright look,
Yeah, I think like we were talking about, I think people, they get the RGB fans. And yeah, Cooler Master has them, but they're all sold out right on Newegg right now. But and they think they have to show off the fact that they're RGB and leave it on the rainbow setting all the time. And you just get like, the hate on Reddit. But no, for coming up with themes, because personally the traditional, the red, the blue, I like the white themes, but or subtle themes. I think we're going to see more of the like cabling in a sense kind of went ahead. You saw like teal cables and like shades of yellow and orange and stuff that was like you couldn't really get in any sort of other colors. Then the pastel coolants came out, mayhem stuff. It seemed like that was where this is going, and now I think lighting is going to be able to be done in a way that's much more artistic.
Right.
Are you finding that like you're popping lights in certain ways or different colors or?
I'm a big white light kind of guy. So unless special requested, I usually just drop white light or blue because I do a lot of Intel. And then green is not quite the right green for NVIDIA, so it's usually very subtle, if anything. So what about you?
I like to use it for effects. I like to use it to create the mood of that mod. So if it needs to be darker on one side, I'll put a light up in another corner. And like I said, I like to make my single LEDs. I like to make my own arrays of LEDs if I have to have it. So I can put maybe like two yellows and a blue together to get a certain color or do stuff like that. That's the way I do with that part of it.
I just buy a strip, stick it in there.
Oh, I've done that too, but there are some times where you want to light up just a certain area.
Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of your stuff, and he puts little like Ron puts all those little tiny LEDs everywhere and gets it just right.
Yeah. And I think you see that sort of, in a sense, like television sort of did this. Like you can have the main area like as if this is the main display, all lit up with white, and then you can do accents underneath or accents on the back and really just wash, kind of how we do it here in the studio, just wash a ton of color in the back, make the whole thing pop. But if you blast too much light on the inside, you just, what are you looking at? It looks too insane.
Drowned it out.
Yeah. So there's a question online. Question to Lee. Any plans in the future for a scratch build? And this is from Peter Brands.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Pete. I just said that.
I just told him we got to say hi to Peter. Actually, there's one coming up that I can't talk about if things go
well. It seems
well.
to be a theme that you can't talk about it.
But I did have a server that is kind of sort of a scratch build because it was not made for a dual socket motherboard, so I got to revamp the whole inside of the chassis. So it would be kind of like that, because that was originally an ACTS or AT. How do you say that one from Cooler Master? ATCS, right?
Yeah.
And now it's. I mean, if you look at it, you can't even tell what chassis it is.
Yeah, actually, well, why don't we talk about this and talk about sort of your involvement with Cooler Master. Obviously, we're here for the kickoff of the Cooler Master Mod Tour 2017. Yeah, what's up with that one? Obviously, there's no sweet fluid in yet.
Yeah, that chassis is for the workshop tomorrow, so it'll be a work in progress. I'll actually bend some tubes for it. I've already laid out all the water cooling. I'm just going to do a simple CPU loop. I actually put one tube in there already because that way I was able to mount the reservoir in there. So I just got 2 tubes, one out of the pump and then one out of the top fitting on the radiator. But that used to be one of the old, I think, Wavemaster days, Cooler Master chassis, the ATCS. And basically I gutted it. The only thing left from the original chassis is the floor, the outer edge rail, the top piece, and the doors, I think. So the rest of it is all hand fabricated or bent up. And
So it's like one of those classic cars when it's like a Bugatti from like 1912, and it's just like the handle that's original. And
yeah,
everything
that's
else
it. Everything else is not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then my main thing was to invert it and go small form factor, micro instead of a full size board.
Yeah.
So that way it could cram all the water cooling and stuff in it.
Yeah. What is that? The Asus Gene in there?
Yeah, that's a Z170.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I own that board. Pretty cool. So the case mod tomorrow at the Hybrid Center, you're actually gonna finish this whole piece out. You're gonna bend some tubes.
Yeah.
What is, I think, we're talking about the high end. This is like super exclusive. There's a reason that, people pay money for these custom builds because it's hard. It takes a lot of time and experience. A lot of the experience isn't necessarily like PC experience. It's coming from, like you were talking about, custom cars. What was it from your
Tools.
background that, gave you experience for doing this?
Well, I was always, when I was younger, I used to do model airplanes and RC planes and stuff like that. So I was always handy with tools, and that was a big thing that helped me out because of the fact that being able to be crafty, or work on cars, because I got a couple cars myself. That was a big, not being afraid of a power tool, knowing how to use a drill gun or saw and not cut off my fingers or my hands or whatever, So I grew up around tools, and that helped me out a lot get going on this, because when I saw like Bill Owen and Dwayne and Richard, who's doing whatever, when I saw their mods and started like looking at stuff, and I was like, hey, I think I can do that. Well, so I just put my mind to it and went to it, and here we are.
The rest is history.
I think it's generational too, like you said with power tools and stuff. Like my age, that's what we did. We worked on the cars. You had to work on the cars.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you need to work on your car, you have to take it to somebody because they got to plug it into a computer and tell them what it is.
Exactly.
I mean, I had a '66 Mustang and older cars, and I could change a water pump out in 15 minutes because you could.
Because you could get to it.
Right, but you had to.
Yeah.
That was, you wanted to drive it, you had to do it. And nowadays, I don't think the kids nowadays get that chance.
Right.
To be able to do it with the hand
that.
tools and stuff, which is, it's sad. It's kind of, to me, it's almost like a lost art.
Yeah.
And
Well, maybe PC building will be the new art.
I think
There's a lot more people that seem, at least, maybe it's just I'm hearing about it a lot more, but it seems like it's becoming much more of a thing.
It is a big art thing, I think, because like Dwayne's, he has his own art style. I have my own art style. Ron has his. Every guy that does modding, they have their own style.
Yeah.
So they're all artists, no matter how you look at that.
What's funny is that you can also see it regional, almost wise. Like you can look at a particular mod and go, oh yeah, that one's from Taiwan.
Or that
this
one's
from
from
Germany.
Europe.
This one's from, because it's that same kind of styling. But what's really neat is that it's going globally. And it's one of those things that can go globally.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's really starting to go back up. Because before it seemed like it was more
slowed down a little
US
bit.
and it was kind of in those areas, but it has grown to where it's a worldwide competition almost. It seems like everybody's trying to outdo each other everywhere.
Well, like China and like you're saying, Taiwan and Japan, those countries are really starting to jump into the game now. I mean, there's all these guys are popping up everywhere, and I know. I think the World Series, what was it, last year or the year before? You know, there was a lot of these guys just came out of the woodwork. So I'm like, who are these guys? You know,
Yeah.
and you look at their work and it's like immaculate, and I'm just like,
You know what's even crazier though is some of the work that they do that's like that, but go through their work logs and see what the tools they actually use.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, just hammers and pliers and screwdrivers, and they're bending it over their table, and they're like, there's no way they could have done that.
Yeah.
But they were using what's available to them
yep.
to create that. And that's part of the draw to myself, is I like to try and figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's fun to actually see, like, you know, we're here because Kula Masters launching their Case Mod World Tour, and their whole thing is like maker, and that's interesting that it's become that way, that it's so much of the manufacturing is supporting like modding and actually building up PCs and actually doing it in sort of the easy way, so that you don't have to completely jump to having, you know, heat guns and pipe bending and your, you know, drill press and everything. You can actually do it with pretty basic stuff.
Yeah,
Probably a heat gun would be a good purchase.
Yeah,
you
get
know,
a
just
Dremel,
yeah.
Dremel and a heat gun, you're good.
Pretty
Yeah.
good, yeah. But the Cooler Master Case Mod contest, it's grown so much over the years that, I mean, guys will start talking after this one will end. They'll already start talking and thinking about what they're going to be doing next year.
Yeah.
Because again, it's gone
planned it
global.
out.
It's gone globally,
Yeah.
and they are like, this is what we're doing next year. This is what we're already working on it, and it's coming to it's the premier one, really.
Yeah, that's super cool. How often do you guys, just as an aside, get asked to like fix people's computer? Like,
I still, you know, it's funny you say that because I still actually do repair,
Yeah.
PC repair, because that's kind of how it all started for me, because I ended up getting a bunch of computers, and that's how I learned how to work on
Oh, sure,
computers.
yeah.
I took those computers and figured out what was wrong with them, and next thing you know, I was like getting rid of them on Craigslist, and then I got all these friends and neighbors and family that wanted their PCs fixed, and they still come to me today. So I can't tell them no, because that's kind of how it all started.
They're like, oh, it's not working, and you're like, well, I upgraded the RAM and added, you know, flames across the whole thing, you know, manky buses with blow torches. With
Yeah. No, I try to make sure I don't tell people what I do as a side job or a hobby, because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it can overwhelm you. And once you work on something, and remember that PC you worked on me for 2 years ago, and it's broke, and now they expect that you own it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you
it's-
got to
it's
come
your
back
fault.
and fix it for free.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, when's the last time you vacuumed all the cat hair out of it?
Yeah.
You know, and
Is
it
that part of it? You get a full mod and lifetime customer support. Fly in at a moment's notice to
No.
troubleshoot.
Yeah, once they turn it on, it's theirs. Right?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's yours now. See ya.
Well, what is the sort of the ratio, or you know, between like the big corporate companies, obviously the Intels and the Nvidias that are commissioning cases versus like individual guys out of, you know, Palo Alto with, you know, money to burn?
That's more on your side. I usually just do more of the corporate side.
I mean, I get a lot of emails, but not a lot of them follow through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once they get that quote or whatever, they're off and running. I've learned over time not to give them the parts list, because when you give them the parts list, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go have my buddy build it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and I just did all the homework for you, so
Yeah.
now I'm gonna run off with that. But I mean, I still get some individuals that come through and they actually want just a super clean water-cooled system, nothing fancy. I've had a few guys that wanted airbrush done, and but I would say the ratio is probably like 2 to 10, something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
that actually come through.
And client mods, though, you also got to make sure that to make sure that they want to go through with it, is you ask for like 50% up.
Yeah, I don't give them any info unless I get
Yeah.
a deposit now.
Yeah,
So
I want the 50% to build it, so at least I know when I'm halfway
sure.
into it and you bail out of it, that, you know,
Covers the cost of-
it's money up front for that.
all
If
of it.
you want
huh?
the parts list, I require a deposit,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
and it goes towards your build. But if we're gonna start this, then it's all money up front.
Oh,
And I prefer
okay.
they send me all their parts. I don't have to buy anything, because otherwise it's like a whole tax crap mess, right? Because
Yeah.
California is so fun with that one.
Just put it in a box and send it over.
Yeah, it's easier.
Sweet. So, where's the next stop on this world tour? You guys flying out to like Taiwan or anything?
I don't know, are we? I'm up for that. I don't know where the next stop would be.
I'm not even in that one, so.
Yeah.
The World Tour, you're talking about the Cooler Master Contest, right? You're a judge on that?
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, I'm a judge on some other thing. I think there's something going
Some
on
other thing
Twitter
you're
right
busy.
now.
You just show up and
No,
Build
I'd
them.
like to see him actually go to QuakeCon. I'd like to see that's the next one for if Cooler Master can go to that. The next big show. I mean, it's the biggest LAN in the U.S. And it's going to be at the Gaylord this year. And I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger with Bethesda. Because before it used to be id that just was doing it by themselves. And they spend about $1 million, $1.5 million to put that show on. And then Bethesda, of course, bought id. And now they're just dumping all kinds of money into it. And I think they're even doing cosplay this year. I mean, they're really trying to grow it to be bigger and better.
and it's crazy. It's huge. I mean, Newegg, goes to PAX and BlizzCon and a whole bunch of events, and the crowds. I mean, it's now not a question of if the venue sells out. It's how fast did it sell out? Did it sell out in 20 minutes? This last year it was like 12 minutes. Is it under 10 minutes? It's insane how big these things are getting. Almost to the point like we need, for PAX, for example, we need PAX LA,
Right.
PAX Duluth, PAX whatever. It's
Packs everywhere.
PAX
Yeah.
PAX everywhere. It could just be a traveling show.
And they could do that. I bet you they'd sell out every one of them.
It's like by the time you refresh your browser, it's sold out.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. It's crazy that how big this has become and how how exciting this stuff is. So, are there any tips? We're talking about high-end stuff, but for a lot of guys that are out there, they want to do their first PC build, they're back into it. What do you recommend, like, to get started? Anything to watch out for? Like, hey, don't try on your first PC that you ever built to do some hard pipe bending. Don't get out the blowtorch. Big question.
I mean, if you're gonna do water cooling, I would start off with flex tubing probably. It's just easier and it'll get you. But I mean,
Yeah.
if you have your mind set out to do something, you're gonna do it, right? I've seen some guys first water cooling, they do the hardline tubing.
Yeah.
Because regardless, you got to learn something somewhere, either about flex tube or hardline.
Yeah.
But I would just take your time, just have patience. If it doesn't fit, don't force it.
Yeah.
Rule one for me would be don't do it on your current PC.
Mm-hmm.
If you go get an old case or something like that, because you're gonna have to learn the techniques.
For modding, right?
Yeah.
You're talking, yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think for modding and just for first time building in general, it's probably good advice.
Yeah.
One of the things that's happened, I mean, obviously the 1080 Ti just came out. That's huge. And then Titan XP, they updated the Titan X.
Yeah.
With hardline, it's pretty locked in there for the most part.
Yeah.
It's swapping out graphics cards and the
not fun.
constant upgrade cycle, that's pretty brutal. Do you think that's like, quick connects have become a new thing with some vendors just for the normal tubing. Do you think there'll ever be like a match between, for like off-the-shelf components, not necessarily modding, but stuff that gets the sort of hard pipe look but allows for easier building?
I don't think so, because I don't think there'll be anything off the shelf because of the fact that almost every motherboard that I've tried to drop it, like swap that board out and put a different board in,
Yeah.
and then the tubes don't line up.
Yeah.
It could be another Z170, and I go to throw it in there, same vendor, Asus, and it doesn't line up.
Yeah, you'd be 5 millimeters off. And
Yeah, but most of
you're
them,
off.
like the EK water blocks, I mean, 99% of them have lined up, unless you got like a classified or something like that. But I think everything literally, I mean, this one I literally just pulled out yesterday and threw it back in there. So.
I mean, there might be a point where, like for the 90 degrees or sweeps and stuff, that you would be able to buy those,
Yeah.
and then push the press fittings together and be able to go on to the next one like that. To keep continuing. I think
Yeah.
somebody's come out with the glass. I think it was Alpha Cool that's got the glass tubing, and it's kind of that because you can't bend the glass, but you can cut it
Yeah.
and put their compression fittings on there and go to the next piece. But
Yeah,
maybe
but
something
I
like
think
that.
being able to just like drop it in on any setup is
It's no.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd have to be, and I've been thinking
It'd
of
have
doing this, like hard pipe to then
Yeah.
soft tubing where you don't see it, so that you have some flexibility.
Yeah.
You go 2 down, and the angle into the CPU, but it's flex up above where you don't see it or something like that.
Or
Be
or a
cool.
tubing that is like in between the PETG or acrylic and the flex tubing.
Yeah.
That's like somewhat holds its shape for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe Cooler Master will come out with some.
Yeah, once you put liquid to it, it just becomes right. It stays.
Hey, that'd be cool. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. What
Liquid
was that?
What's the name of this magic material?
Yeah, we might have to come up with that.
Sweet. Well, I think it's time to start wrapping this up. So thank you to the guys from Cooler Master for hosting this deal. Well, it's the Cooler Master Case Mod World Tour 2017. Go to unlocked.newegg.com. Find the meetup. You can find where you can sign up for the mod tomorrow, or the meetup tomorrow, where they can meet the modders. You guys are bringing these PCs, and you're finishing that
I'll
one
be
off,
doing
correct?
that one. Brian will be there too as well, right? Brian Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be doing something. What is he doing?
The speeder, Ray Speeder
Yeah,
from
he'll
Star
be
Wars.
bringing. I think he's bringing his speeder.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so that'll be neat to look. He's.
I want to see that.
I do too.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm really jealous because I wanted to make that one.
Oh.
But he beat me to that idea. But he is doing, I think, what is the next generation of case mining, where it's a lot of the CNC and 3D printing stuff.
He did
Yeah.
the Tron motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
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 He's got one of those creative minds
Yeah.
that just blows you away.
Yeah, CNC, and then you can get, programming for 6-axis CNC or for like KUKA robotic arms. Maybe that's, the next deal. Machining.
Yeah.
I've always thought about this: getting a giant block of aluminum and using a 6-axis to just machine out. There's some crazy, because you can get inside
You
and
could
just do
get
the
crazy
whole
with
thing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually showed a case at some place that a guy did that. It was out of a solid block, and
Really?
it was from up north in Canada.
See, that's
Wow.
another thing. Yeah, any idea has already been done.
Well, almost, but it's how you do it, and if you can do it better.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's the
Yeah.
same thing with modding. Almost everything's been done, maybe, but you can always do it better, or somebody can be more creative about it.
Yeah.
Or Intel updates the motherboard size,
Right.
or starts putting the
Yeah.
24 pins on the back, and all of a sudden the whole world flips upside down.
Everything goes crazy.
Hey, I've known a couple of guys who've done that, and actually put the 24 pins on the other side because of a mod.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would not
I
be.
saw that one too. I
Yeah.
think.
I would not be opposed to having all the pins on the other side. They just keep
Right?
it.
It would.
Then you would
super
have no
thing.
cables plugging into the board. It would just all be on the reverse side.
Right?
Makes sense.
It does. I
That you
think
could
it's-
just chrome dip the whole board or something, just make it look real.
Nice and smooth.
Yeah. Nothing works, but it looks cool. Sweet. Well, all right, for our Facebook and YouTube audiences, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, of course, do so. And because we have a lot more cool stuff coming. Try to join up the meetup tomorrow. Probably there's no spots left, but thank you so much to Cooler Master for bringing their cool new stuff by, and obviously Lee from Junkies Mods and Dwayne from Modders Inc. talking about pro tips and kind of fun, cool stuff. So I'm Josh from Newegg and Unlocked, and we will see you next time. Sweet.